Alright guys, so today we're going to be doing the substitution method, which is something you guys did in Algebra 1. You do a little bit in geometry, but let's go over that. So we have 3x minus 5y equals 11, and x minus 3y equals 1. So for the substitution method is you're basically going to take one of these equations and substitute it into one of these other ones. If I look, my first step is to solve for one of these for x or y, and honestly the easiest one to solve for a variable is this bottom one, as I can easily solve for x if I just move that 3x, which I would just add. So I'm going to draw an arrow right here, and I'm going to use a different color, and I'm going to say that x equals 3y plus 1. And the reason why it's 3y plus 1 is I would add 3y to both sides, so I would get x equals 3y plus 1. Now I can substitute it in. So what that means is in this first equation, wherever I see an x, I'm going to substitute 3y plus 1. So I'm going to have 3, and then I'm going to have 3y plus 1. And I'm going to keep that color so we can see the substitution. And then you're going to finish it minus 5y equals 11. Okay, so wherever I saw an x, I just substituted in 3y plus 1. Now going back to solving equations, I'm just going to solve for y in this case, and this 3 in front of the parentheses means I'm going to distribute it, which is just a fancy way of saying I'm going to multiply it. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 3y, which is going to give me 9y, because 3 times 3 is 9, and then you tack on the y. 3 times 1 is just 3. And then we have minus 5y equals 11. Well, now I have an equation to solve, so I'm going to draw the line down my equal sign, and I'm going to circle my variables. And now I'm going to combine like terms, because as you can see on this left-hand side, I have 9y and negative 5y. So 9 minus 5y, it's going to give me 4y plus 3 equals 11. Well, I want to solve for y, so that 3 has to go, and 3 is being added, so the opposite of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to minus 3, minus 3. Here they cancel out, they go bye-bye, so I have 4y equals 11 minus 3 is 8. Divide by 4, because remember 4 and y are actually being multiplied, so the undue multiplication is division. So they cancel out over here, they go bye-bye, so y equals 2. Okay, that's not bad. So I have y equals 2. Now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to substitute it into one of these two equations to find out x. I'm actually going to pick that top one just because, and wherever I see a y, I'm going to substitute a 2. So I'm going to have 3x minus 5, and instead of writing a y, I'm going to substitute a 2. So I'm just going to use a different color so you guys can see that I am indeed, in fact, substituting a 2, and this equals 11. Okay, so let's simplify this. 5 times 2 is 10, so I have 3x minus 10 equals 11. And if we draw the line and circle the variable, now I solve for x. Well, minus 10, the opposite of minus 10 is addition, so it's going to be plus 10 on both sides. Here they cancel out, so I have 3x equals 11 plus 10 is 21. This 3 and the x are being multiplied, so I divide by 3 on both sides. X equals 7. All right, so now I got x equals 7 and y equals 2. The last step is I'm going to plug in x. I'm going to substitute 7 in for x and 2 in for y. So if I go back to this first one, is I'm going to have 3, and again we're going to use different colors. So 3 times 7 minus, just using that original equation, 5 times my y, which is 2. Does that equal 11? Okay, so this would be 3 times 7 is 21. 5 times 2 is 10. 21 minus 10, does that equal 11? Yup, that checks out with the first one. Now for the second equation, we're going to substitute 7 in for x and 2 in for y. So remember, x is 7, so I'm going to have 7 minus 3 times my y, which we said was 2. Does this equal 1? Okay, you guys can probably do this in your head, but I'm going to break it down one more time. 3 times 2 is 6. 7 minus 6, does that equal 1? Yep. So my solution, and you write it as an order pair, is 7, 2. Okay, I know that these are a lot of work. I know. These are a little bit tricky. That's okay. We're just going to break it down piece by piece. We're going to do one more, and then we'll do the overcap like we always do for the videos. Okay, so let's go to example 2. And they do take a full sheet. As you can see, it took a full sheet of paper. Example 2. So we have 3x. Sorry, guys, that's an x. I know it's weird to see. 3x minus y equals 8. And then I have x plus y equals 4. So my first step is to solve for x or y. And if I look on that bottom one, I could solve for x or y actually pretty easy. I'm going to solve for y just because I liked seeing it like that way. You could solve for x, it doesn't matter. So y equals negative x plus 4. The reason why it's negative x is I would subtract by x on both sides. Now I'm going to substitute wherever I see a y, negative x plus 4 in this first equation. So I'm going to have 3x minus, make sure we have that minus there. And then I'm going to substitute right here, negative x plus 4. Which equals 8. And now I'm going to draw the line. And then we can start solving. I'm not going to circle the variable quite yet. But if I look here, I have this minus sign and there's really an invisible 1 right in front of here. So I'm actually going to multiply or distribute this negative 1 to each of these. So it's just going to change the sign. So I'm really going to have 3x plus x minus 4 equals 8. Because anything times negative 1 just changes the sign. Because a negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a positive gives me a negative. Here's where I'm going to circle the variables now because I've already distributed. So as you can see on that left-hand side, I can combine 3x and x. Well, 3x plus x is just 4x minus 4 equals 8. And now I can solve for it. This negative 4 has to go, so I have to use the opposite operation, which would be plus 4 on both sides to cancel out here. So I'm going to have 4x equals 8. Plus 4 is 12. And now 4 and x are actually being multiplied, so you can draw the little multiplication symbol in there. You don't have to if you don't want to. Divide by 4 on both sides. X equals 3. Oh, I'm sorry, I just hit the camera. X equals 3. Okay, so now I can go back to either one of these equations and substitute in 3 in for x. I'm actually going to pick this bottom one. I'm going to use the original one just because I think that's going to be easier to do so. So wherever I see an x, I'm going to substitute a 3. So I'm going to have y plus, and I'm going to put it in parentheses, 3 equals 4. And the reason why I picked this, well, what plus 3 equals 4? If you subtract by 3 on both sides, which I know you guys can do this in your head, you would get y equals 1. Alright, well that really wasn't that bad. Okay, that first example we had to solve. So now I need to substitute x equals 3 and y equals 1 into both of these equations and see if they work out. So from the first equation is I'm going to have 3 times by 3 minus, and my y is 1 minus, and I'm going to put it in parentheses, does this equal 8? Well, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. So definitely works out. Now let's try that bottom one. This one's super nice because I'm substituting x and y. Remember, it's just x plus y equals 4. Y is 1. X is 3. Does this equal 4? Yeah, we don't need to break it down even more. You guys know that. So then my solution is 3, 1. Okay, so let's just recap this lesson. So when you're starting out, make sure you solve for either x or y in one of them. Pick the easiest way. So like for this one, you have a lot of options. You can solve for x or for y. For this one, we can only really solve for x. That was just the easiest way. Once you have solved for either x or y, then you're going to substitute it in. So here we solve for y. So wherever we see a y in this first equation, we're going to substitute this into that equation. Once you substitute it in, you're going to simplify, which means you're going to distribute. And then you're going to solve for whatever variable that you need to, the one that's only there. So in this case, we solve for x. You're going to solve it by solving an equation. You guys are great at that. We're going to get x equals 3. Then I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to plug it into either one of these equations. It doesn't matter which one. I picked the bottom one because it's easier. Pick the easier one. These are a lot of work. Pick the ones that you guys can do pretty quickly. So wherever I see an x, I substituted what I got for x, which is 3. So I got y plus 3 equals 4. Solve for y. Y equals 1. Once you have x and y, then you're going to substitute it back into those original problems and see if it works out. If it doesn't work out for both of them, you made a mistake, probably right here when you substitute it in. Okay, they have to work for both of them, not just one or the other. It has to work for both of them. Once you get the solution, write it down as an ordered pair. If it's not written down as an ordered pair, it's incorrect. It's wrong. It needs to be written as an ordered pair. Once you have the ordered pair, just make sure you highlight it or circle it so we can see it. Okay? I know that these are a lot of work, but just take your time, break it down step by step by step.